Special guest appearance on the Coaches Show. That is a sweet tarp, my man. That is some nice thread work right there. Luc Mullinder, color commentator on our Rider broadcast, joining us. All right, Luke. Hey, you texted me mid-game. Montreal gets paid too, but you and I both hammered the Riders with the points. We were going there. What the heck happens on Saturday?
No, actually, I didn't end up hammering the Riders.
Well, you lied to me on Friday.
No, I didn't lie to you on Friday. That's how I felt on Friday. When I woke up on Saturday, I changed my tune. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing.
Why didn't you shoot me a text?
I'm sorry. Because you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, man. Until I actually say it out loud, until I actually hear the spread out loud on the pregame, I haven't made up my mind. I made up my mind literally. And here's when I made up my mind. First of all, guys, I talked to you guys before the game, and I said, hey, they get paid too. I changed my mind as soon as the Toronto Argonauts won, because I had known that Hamilton had already won the night before, and when Toronto won, I put myself in, and I remember warming up. I think it was in Calgary, and watching a game that had everything to do with our positioning potentially. And I remember how, warming up, you were kind of doing this half-ass warm-up because you're watching the giant big screen. And as soon as the team that we needed to win lost, it made the game in Calgary that much more important. And I was just thinking about that, and I was like, look, man, the Montreal Alouettes, they've probably heard all week about how Saskatchewan dominated them at home. McLeod Bethel-Thompson's coming off his first game in 3 games, and he was embarrassed the last time he saw the Riders. And now the Montreal Alouettes have just watched the team above them win a game to separate, and the team that's chasing them win a game to get closer. That makes it a huge game in Montreal. So that's when I kind of changed my mind. And you got to remember, the points were at 7.5. I still thought Saskatchewan could pull it out. I just thought it was going to be close. But this is the Coaches Show, and I'd like to say I'm not acting like a coach right now, but I will give the coaches credit. The Montreal coaches, they game planned the hell out of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, specifically the way they pass pro'd from McLeod Bethel-Thompson. And everybody's talking about, Kefale Exume and the tough game that he had. And I get it because, optically when you're watching TV, it looks like one guy's getting beaten. But protection-wise, they allowed McLeod Bethel-Thompson to work. And that's something that we did not see in Montreal. Saskatchewan was constantly hitting McLeod Bethel-Thompson. They were constantly pressuring him. This game, yes, on Saturday, we saw none of that. So you got to tip your hat to the Montreal Alouettes coaching staff. I thought they brought in a great offensive game plan.
What does your eyeballs see, though? Why the protect? Did they shift protection against our defensive line? What did you see there, Luke?
Well, they kept a lot more guys in, right? Mm-hmm. They kept a lot more guys in. I really liked the way they slid. They also used there was one, I think it was the long one that essentially was the dagger in the Riders in the fourth that it was Philpott caught where he inched inside Exume at the last minute and made the catch. Well, that play I really liked because what they did is they pulled the guard out, made it look like a run, but then all the guard did was add some more surface to the right side where McLeod Bethel-Thompson wanted to go. So again, I give him a lot of credit. And the other part is I was saying this in the pregame, that Mustafa Johnson kid, the fact that they got him back, that was big too. And he played a good game as well. So again, you have to give the credit where credit is due. And for the Riders, they got a week to think about the run they got to make when they get back.
Luke, it looked like an incredibly physical football game that Montreal was punishing Ouellette every chance they get. Darnell Sankey was everywhere. Like you mentioned, Mustafa Johnson. Did they just out-physical the Riders on both sides of the ball?
They were definitely the more physical team. I think that they were the more motivated team as well, and a lot went into that. But again, one of our keys to the game in the pregame, I mentioned was disrupting their script, not letting the Montreal Alouettes gain momentum, not letting them start to get in rhythm. And unfortunately for us, Montreal got into rhythm on defense and on offense, right? And from that point on, it was hard to stop because, again, it didn't allow us to get into rhythm, right? So, again, I think that the physical battle, it was definitely won on the Montreal Alouettes side. And I'll tell you what, man, that kid that replaced Thies when Thies went down, the backup from Indiana, I thought he was great. That guy looked like a seasoned vet, man. I love the way he saw the field. I think that he was very patient with what developed in front of him. He knew what he needed to wait on. And you never know with your essentially third string running back what you're going to get, right? But I said in the game, you know what? Like, he's an Indiana Hoosier. That means he played in the Big Ten. That means he's played in that weather, because that weather was Big Ten weather on Saturday.
Is that Stevie Scott you're talking about?
Yeah, I thought he was great.
Yeah. Coming out party for Stevie. We had people text in here, Luke, too, as well. Did you expect the Riders to do anything more as far as halftime adjustments, or did they try and Montreal just game planned around those as well?
Sometimes, guys, the halftime adjustment is just get your together, right? Here's what happens. You get in there, okay? You get in there, the offense talks to the offense, the defense talks to the defense, and then the coach brings them in, and right? But, sometimes you just got to say, hey, guys, we need to get going here, right? And I don't think schematically anything needed to change. We just needed to start getting a couple more blocks, and yeah, it just never came about, right? And I think that Montreal, again, you got to give them credit. They really, you can feel when a team is one play away from stealing the momentum back. Montreal never let them do that. They were, especially in the fourth quarter, when the game was still very much in hand, right? This game was very much in hand in the fourth quarter. And I remember Saskatchewan scored, and right away you're like, oh, all you got to do is stop them here. And Montreal came out and they strung drives together, and it was impressive. And again, they stayed out of their cancer down, right? The whole game they were able to stay out of second and long, right? They were in it a couple times, but they weren't in it all. It wasn't 2nd and 10 every single possession for them. It was 2nd and 5, which is really manageable down, especially in the CFL. You got to get 4 yards because essentially you're going to throw your third down team in there for the last yard, right? So again, I felt like they did a great job just continuing to have their entire playbook in front of them all the way through. And then when the Riders did get a little momentum, they stifled it. That was the good part of them. So you got to give them credit.
Since you're retired, Luke, and you can be 100% honest, not that you weren't honest when you were playing the game, but after the game, bye week's coming up, week off, we're 10-2, we lose 10-3. Most of us in normal jobs on a Friday like to coast for a couple hours if we know the weekend's coming, let alone a week's worth of holidays. Think that plays into it a little as well with bye week on the brain?
No, because they've been in this situation twice before, right? They've had 2 bye weeks. This is their 3rd bye week coming up. And again, they knew they've had bigger, actually, as a matter of fact, they've had bigger bye week situations, right? That game in Montreal, where they had the bye week from Montreal, a lot of guys were staying in Montreal because it's easier to travel from the Montreal airport, right? There's a lot more to think about that bye week game than there was this bye week game, right? Some guys, it's me, I'm starting to count my checks now, right? I realize, okay, it's week 14 now. That means I have 4 more game checks guaranteed plus playoff game. And then I start looking at the flights, and I'm like, yeah, maybe, maybe this bye week I'm just going to stay in Regina, right? Maybe we go on a fishing trip.
Yeah, tourism Regina, man. Let's go to Wascana. Let's take the family around there. Let's keep this thing on a budget.
I go to Colin O'Brien's and buy myself some new gear.
Man, listen, I think that the best teams that I've ever played on, especially when we were at the height of whatever we were at in Saskatchewan, from 2007 on through 2010, we made sure that we went on a fishing trip or we did stuff together, and we took advantage of that other bye week. I don't think we didn't get too many seasons where we had 3 bye weeks, though.
You talk, I really like your point, and I really wish you would have texted me Saturday morning about where the Montreal Alouettes were and they needed that game and there was maybe a little bit more desperation. Was there also maybe, because we talk about how the Riders went in there, beat them up pretty good, was it also maybe a little bit Jason Moss and the coaching staff, the embarrassment tour coming back and being like, what happened in Montreal ain't happening again, and they just maybe dialed it in even more, if that's possible?
Well, their embarrassment tour, it had been going on for a month. This is a team that hadn't won in a month, right? Like it wasn't the embarrassment tour, it was someone's getting fired tour, right? Like so they came in and again, nothing motivates you more than your own schedule and your own standings, and you saw Hamilton and Toronto win, but more importantly too, people have their pride, right? Noel Thorpe's defense, for instance, I mean it was a defense that was getting beat up. They were on the field a lot. The offense, they were miserable when it came to second down success. And obviously that means that they weren't that good in first down either, right? Like, so eventually, if you're going to be the team that wants to compete for a Grey Cup, you have to have that sort of come to Jesus moment. And I think that they had that prior to the game in Saskatchewan. Like, guys, where are we going to go from here, right? It needs to be upwards because it's professional football at the end of the day. And, eventually jobs get thrown on the line. But now look at the division, right? They could have been 5-8, tied with the Argos, and then had the Ottawa breathing down their necks, right? Or they could be 6-7 and with Hamilton directly in their sights, as well as Toronto below them, right? So I think a lot of that went into that. But again, you got beat up and you got embarrassed at your own home, and now you have McLeod Bethel-Thompson coming back for the first time in 3 games. If there was ever a game to get up for it was that one for the Montreal Alouettes.
The Rider roster on Saturday had 10 defensive linemen, and obviously because of the last-minute scratches and the injuries to Sales, to Campbell, and then with what they fielded in the backfield, since this is the coach's show, Coach Luc, do you maybe make it 9 D linemen? You're obviously trying to keep everybody fresh. You got to throw maybe an extra DB in there or one of those tweener backer DBs, because in-game adjustments, Malik Carney's not going to play halfback. All right. If, guys are going down, is Jaden Dahlke playing corner? Well, I don't know, but how do you construct that roster? Because the Riders normally start more Canadians than they have to, and they were rolling with 10 defensive linemen for the game on Saturday.
Aaron Patrick, number 91.
Okay.
Played great on special teams last week. He doesn't get a lot of rotation. If I'm a coach, I always have to remember, especially in Saskatchewan, special teams, especially in the covered units, are never going to be our weakness. I want strong special teams play. So if I can get that out of guys like Aaron Patrick, Stevens, who I threw on the roster, I got Jaden Dahlke in there. Nick Weeb has been fantastic on special teams. Again, I want guys that can play on specials. And right now, I think that the Riders should be prioritizing the third, because again, common knowledge, right? You got to win 2 out of the 3 phases of a football game: offense, defense, special teams, right? The Riders, for what it's worth, they haven't lost the special teams battle all year, right? And so I think that, yes, you have, it's not necessarily to keep that rotation fresh. Who are our best guys on specials? And you saw number 91 last week. He's been playing great. He's always played well on special teams, right? So again, you can't forget, I get that we didn't want to see Tyson Philpott look like Randy Moss. Totally get that. Okay. However, again, give credit where credit is due. Montreal figured out a way to stop the blitz. Montreal figured out a way to protect McLeod Bethel-Thompson to get those deep balls in the air. You know what I mean? They would have been 50-50 balls, and would Marcus Sales or Tavon Campbell have covered it differently? Who knows, right? The bottom line is McLeod Bethel-Thompson was allowed to throw the football this time. He was not allowed to throw the football the first time we saw the Montreal Alouettes in Montreal. So again, I think that when it comes to the secondary, I get it, but I want special teams consistency. I don't want, if I'm Corey Mace, I do not want special teams to be the thing that we're worried about in the team meeting, after the game, right? Because remember, guys, these guys are bougie, right? And we were bougie too. So you only had 4.5 hours with the team during the practice week, right? On every day. You had 4.5 hours of practice. the one thing you don't want to spend time on is special teams and trick plays. You know what I mean? Like, if we've got to dedicate an extra 10 minutes of practice to figuring out the correction on kickoff return or kickoff cover, man, that's taken away from some of the things that we need to correct in the game, right? Like, we need to correct the Max Pro approach that Montreal took, because I guarantee you teams are going to do that, right? Teams are going to start to figure out in the playoffs. We might see a lot more slide protection now, right? Where your defensive linemen are just basically, you know, like where you're taking your offensive lineman, your quarterback, and you're shifting the launch point to over here, right? Essentially. So we might see all of that. So I want to be able to talk about that and spend time on that. I don't want to have to spend time in practice doing another kickoff and punt return drill. You know what I mean? So you got to prioritize it. And I think that that's where the Riders are coming from when it comes to those 9D linemen. I think that they know that special teams has always been, especially in the cover unit, something that they've stood out at, and that needs to stay that way.
We don't want to be overly critical, but it was pretty glaring. And I know you mentioned the time that McLeod Bethel-Thompson had to throw the ball, but there's a couple plays there where Kerfala-Exume looks exposed. Do you think they overbought the stock on him there a bit, Luke? And then second part to that is they bring in this Sheldrick red wine the next day after maybe a run around in Atlanta at spring camp. Is that totally a reaction move, being like, we need some help here in case Sales and Campbell go down again?
Well, they've got to get healthy, right? And when you have both starting defensive backs out, you need to start thinking about where you're going to get your depth from, right? So you move Kerfala up and you move guys around, but you're still going to have to fill the other spots, right? So I don't think it's an indictment that Kerfala-Exume we're going to see has been released, right? Like, there's obviously more film on him than just that game, although that game looked bad. But, yeah, I mean, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they've got a bunch of guys down in the secondary, right? You don't forget Jackson Ford's down too, right? They need guys to fill spots right now, right? And they need to figure out where they're getting where they're playing with their ratio too, right? Like, hey, you know, here's the other thing, right? If you bring in another American DB, if you think about the ratio, what does that mean for Canadian receivers? Oh, wait a second. We've got Emelis potentially coming back. We've got KSB all of a sudden potentially coming back, right? We've had Bain just sitting out and chilling. Like, what does this look like from a receiver standpoint, knowing that the guys that are coming back are Canadians, right? What if we need to insert more Canadian presence into the lineup on offense? We're going to get to pull somewhere on defense. So can we change this? If Tavon's not coming back, for instance, can we change that position fully to an American position for the next little bit, right? Like, I think that we always have to think macro, right, when it comes to new signees. I don't think that they said, oh man, yeah, we waited till week 15 to unveil the CFL's next Deion Sanders. We got them all. You know what I mean? You need depth. Get the depth.
And he was working at Best Buy, and he just finished the shift and came to the Trout.
Yeah.
Luke, the one thing that bothers me,
the way this kid was hucking boxes at Walmart. You know, he had all-star DB in week 15 written all over him, guys. Sign him up. You should have seen it. It was incredible. You should have seen the way this guy took our order at Outback Steakhouse. Man, he did not screw
what's with all
up.
the free plugs? What's with all the free? At least use some local. Use Giant Tiger in the Diplomat or something.
Well, he's American. We signed him. He's an American guy. They don't have Giant Tiger in the States.
Do you want to have a fist fight over how good a bloomin' onion is? I don't fight. I'm in a fight all day long. I will fight you, and that sauce is incredible. Revis's injury.
How fat are the United States of America? Bloomin' onion, like.
Hey,
oh, buddy, I was at 7-Eleven today. We're not Sweden either.
Luke, yeah, exactly.
You're right.
Listen,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Touché.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can we end on the Cowboys?
Okay, Revis is it?
Okay.
Well, no, just wait. I want to ask him about Revis's injury, because to me, forget Exume, all that. They'll get that figured out. Revis being out, if it's just for the game or any length of time, like, there's a reason why Agent Zero and all of that all works. He's a part of that. Maybe he doesn't get the play that he should, but without him, that's a big loss in that Rider backfield.
2 words: Antoine Brooks. 3, if you want me to add the junior part. I think that Antoine Brooks now fits into this. If Revis is gone for any long term. Antoine Brooks has made plays on the roster anytime he's been there. He can play strong side. He can also play in the secondary. You've got Jaden Dahlke, who's also used to playing linebackers. I think that right now they've still got guys. They just got to finish out the ratio. And remember, guys, you don't know who's coming back at that receiver spot. If Emelis and KSB are both ready to go after the bye week, what an amazing problem to have for Jeremy O'Day. That is exactly the type of problem you want. You want to have to figure out who's coming off versus, man, who do we plug in?
Your Cowboys almost lost.
What do you mean, almost lost? You mean to tell me you didn't see that 60-whatever yard field goal? And we just listen. That's what the NFL gets for putting the Dallas Cowboys on a noontime game. Okay, we are a primetime team. So you know what we did? We just figured, hey, we may as well extend the drama, get us back on prime time the next time around.
That Brandon Aubrey, that kicker, what a great story. He's a professional soccer player. His wife said you could kick field goals. He went and trained, went and played in the whatever league that is in the States, and then now he's been kicking field. I had no idea on the story of that guy.
Listen, again, let's not act like that's right. Like there's plenty of wives probably telling their husbands that they should ditch their Staples job and go kick at the NFL level. You know what I mean? Like
Staples, Canadian.
It doesn't. For every Brandon Aubrey,
Staples is American. Staples is American, Barney.
What I'm saying, is for every Brandon Aubrey, there's 150,000 other guys that tried to go that route and didn't make it, right? So he's a great story for sure, and I'm glad he's kicking for us. Well, let's not act like there's a bunch of NFL kickers just hanging out in college forms.
And Luke, I'm with you. I was all about watching. I was flipping around there because watching different games and watching Russ cook. Compared to the snooze fest that Philly, Kansas City is, please, the tush push and the check down passes, you're killing me. That was terrible football. Cowboys, keep in mind, if they would have played they scored 41 points in the fourth quarter to get the game to overtime. That was crazy. How about them Cowboys?
In the NFL, that's amazing.
And Barney, to a point that you made, that Netflix series, Jerry Jones has been crazy his whole life. So what Jerry Jones is doing now is not anything different he was doing back in 1960 when he was in Mississippi.
Well, we're
selling shoes.
1-1. We're 1-1, and the teams we played have run up. Like we do need defense at some point, guys. Right? We can't rely on Dak Prescott to right. And look, let's. I get it. Russ cooked for what, like 3-4 quarters maybe, but still ended up throwing the game-deciding interception. Like. He's cooking, but he's using an old stove.
Maz is all in on the Colts.
Wow.
I would love to see.
Why wouldn't you be?
Well, no.
Why wouldn't you be?
Okay.
They haven't even punted yet.
Exactly. Wouldn't it be great? Daniel Jones wins the Super Bowl, is the MVP, and he just said, listen, it was never me. It was always them.
First of all.
I've always been good.
They're not going to the Super Bowl, okay? The Colts are not going to the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning is not walking through that door. Dwight Freeney is not walking through that door. Folks, Bob Sanders, is not walking through that door. Indianapolis is a good story right now, but they're not winning the Super Bowl.
More likely to go to the Super Bowl. If you're playing with my money. The Colts at 2-0 or the Chiefs at 0-2?
The Chiefs at 0-2. They're still the Chiefs. Guys, Andy Reid is still one of the greatest coaches that's ever lived. They're still the Kansas City Chiefs. Every team, at some point, teams have expiry dates, and you got to get new rosters in there, right? They'll figure something out. If I have a lot more faith in Andy Reid bringing the Chiefs back than Daniel Jones and the crazy owners who, by the way, are on the sidelines wearing earpieces, taking notes like they're scouting the team.
She's great.
How awkward is that be?
Okay, so before this gets any further, because it's going to end badly, if you're the owner of the Miami Dolphins, do you just fire Mike McDaniel now and not let this thing get any further down the road? Because it's happening, whether it's next week, the week after. Because did you see that press conference yesterday after the game? He's beaten already.
What is he on?
Word salad answers. Exactly. What is he on? Is he a Canadian politician with that word salad answer about, to win the game, you got to win the game?
You guys ever seen one of those those old bears or tigers or lions that have been working in the circus their entire life. The first time they're let out into the wilderness, into like a safari area where they're like, have you ever seen you've seen those videos on YouTube where like there's been cows that have been in stalls their whole lives just doing milk, like being milked their whole lives, haven't seen a light of day, haven't seen a blade, and then they get released into the grass, like they put them in a sanctuary and they're jumping and they're like, you know what? Mike McDaniels went to Miami and he was the cow that was in the milk thing his whole life. He's seen things in Miami that he didn't know existed, right? He went to Miami and absolutely lost his mind. That dude went to Miami wearing a suit and tie, looking like a math substitute teacher, okay? And then the following year, he had his first press conference, he had his hair slicked back, he had a gold chain and an open shirt, like the one I'm wearing, but like this, like all his chest. Like Miami changed him. So if I'm the owner, I'm blaming myself. I brought a circus bear who had been in the circus, been trained in the circus his whole life, and I put him in a sanctuary. It was a stupid move. I shouldn't have done it.
Those sunglasses and all. Yeah, his looks weird.
The sunglasses. Like, this is a guy that was using like co-op sunglasses, the 5'9", and now all of a sudden he's showing up on his press conferences, with the latest Versace gear. Like, that's crazy to me. He lost the plot somewhere in there, man. He had a great. He was at one point. He was like the next guy up. That dude went to South Beach and saw things on the beach that he's never seen. He didn't even know existed. He thought he thought you only saw this stuff on the internet. That's what he thought. He went to Miami, South Beach, and lost his mind.
We'll end it at that. You can do up your shirt if you're watching the stream. Luke is getting naked on us here. Color commentary.
The Mike McDaniel voice.
Okay, buddy. Have a good off week. Have a good bye week.
Let's go get a bloomin' onion. Let's go get a bloomin' onion at Outback Steakhouse.
No, you know what, guys? Now that summer's winding down, I got to start being responsible again. I got to eat like a normal adult. I can't wake up and have 4 beers and stuff. I need to start getting back to real life now that summer.
So we should have went for that pizza at Western Pizza before this diet kicks in. We're still doing that.
I'm a man on my word, Barney. Yeah,
okay.
I know that.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a good bye week, Luke. Thanks for doing this, bud.
All right, boys. Have a good show.
Take care.